I lean on the professionals in the HR department that I've created to really bring a lot of the smarts, and they're teaching me. So it's a wonderful amalgamation of a lot of strategy, functional, operational, personal touch. There's an enormous amount of strategy and critical thinking that needs to go into the direction of this company and how we're going to upskill people, how we're going to cast, the casting of certain accounts and clients, you know.
Claude, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Eric.
A lot of people know Gary Vee, whom you're working with, and he's a person who is, you know, go, 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 always on the go, very high energy. And you're on the people side, and I can imagine that if you move very fast, people, sometimes things get left behind. How do you deal with that?
The funny thing is, I work for Gary Vaynerchuk, not Gary Vee. Gary Vee is that brand. I work for the human, who's very much like you or I. He works 16 hours a day, but he is 1,000% on the people side. So he and I both thrive on information and data about people. We want context, because that's how we can see what's going on in the ecosystem and see the patterns. So it's really funny. People do think it's just go, 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 hustle, 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 grind, grind, grind. It's really, there's a much more of a balance, because he's a human, not Gary Vee, you know, which is he's very loud like that.
What is, would you say, your biggest contribution? Because the company is going, I think, at a very rapid pace. Yeah. How do you structure that in a way that's you know, scalable?
It's super challenging to scale Gary, and it's really challenging to scale me too. Our jobs are both very high touch. We thrive on information. We need as much context as we possibly can so that we know what's going on in each of the little microclimates. I've created culture champions, which go out and do the job that I do, not from an HR perspective, from a human perspective, and take you to coffee, go on a walk with you, find out what's going on, because it can't just be me and Gary, and it can't just be my team. Everyone has to collaborate with turning our culture into a we, not I culture. So we're very proactive on this.
This sounds like a fairly operational role still. You know, talking with people, it's a very important role. But at some point you scale to a level where the role needs to become maybe more strategic.
First and foremost, I've worked at advertising agencies for so long. I know the language. I'm very fluent in our structure and in the language of the agency itself. And so I know the different hierarchies. I know the pockets where there might be more crisis or more hardship or more long hours. So I spend my time looking at recruiting and working with our recruiters, making sure that we're doing the right type of recruiting for open hires. We do a lot of training. I spend my time running those trainings, developing those trainings. I spend my time in business operation meetings, the strategic direction of the company. So working very closely with Gary and the other leaders. I even spend my time co-championing or co-cultivating some of our creative vision. And that's only because I've been in these walls for so long. So I have the equity and the trust from Gary first and foremost, and from the rest of the organization. But I know how businesses operate because I did that for so long. I lean on the professionals in the HR department that I've created to really bring a lot of the smarts, and they're teaching me. So it's a wonderful amalgamation of a lot of strategy, functional, operational, personal touch. There's an enormous amount of strategy and critical thinking that needs to go into the direction of this company and how we're going to upskill people, how we're going to cast, the casting of certain accounts and clients, you know.
If you had to place the difference between the more traditional approach to human resource management and your own approach, what would you say are the 2 or 3 biggest differences between the two?
First and foremost, I see myself as a coach and a guide. So that's the first thing. I have autonomy, so much autonomy to do what I need to do for the growth and the sustainability of the company. I'm not micromanaged at all. So I can make decisions very, very freely because my role is right there. And the other thing is 9 out of 10 decisions are going to be mine over the CFO's, because of our organization and its emphasis on heart, on honey, on doing the right thing, on empathy. So those 3 ways are enormously different than the CHRO, you know, that is sitting at that other company.
How do you see that role, so that the current setting that you're working in, how does that benefit you?
Well, first of all, I'm that close to Gary. So I'm understanding what he wants to do on a microsecond. You know, decisions that he wants to make on people, on casting. I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is the CFO and I now work together. I appreciate and certainly respect the role that he has, and I believe he appreciates and respects the role I have. So we can work as two partners. I'm much more on the offense, proactive, wanting this place to be the best ever. He's on the defense, not wanting us to spend the money, still wanting this to be the best place ever, you know? So we come together. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Fantastic, and I think that's the future of collaboration between HR and finance. Thank you very much.
Thank you
very
so much.
interesting.